Here we are. I can't believe it. It's the 19th of March already. We just started talking about the forum doing something that would both impact our students and our teachers and the community about 2 months ago. I want to thank you so much, Mr. West, for being the student engagement liaison here at Elyria High School. Can you tell us just briefly before we get started with the main event, not to borrow colloquialism from Don King,
Okay.
it just so happens that his daughter is going to be doing this today. But before we go to the main event, can you just give us a background? What is it that brings you here? And I'm going to tell you, working with you has been amazing.
Well, I was born here, raised here, graduated from Elyria High in 1981, went to college at Urbana University, came back, started working in group homes. And after working in group homes, I worked briefly for Elyria City Schools at Old Edison School over on Lake Avenue. Then I worked 12 years in foster care. I had 2 stints at schools, one in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, down in Albemarle, North Carolina.
Yes.
I worked in the special ed, specialized school setting.
Okay.
And then I also worked recently from 2014 to 2019, I worked with Olentangy local schools as a substance abuse prevention specialist.
Fantastic.
And then getting back here, I came back in 2019, and I was running a mentoring program through Catholic Charities before I came back to Elyria City Schools.
Okay.
But I want to remind you of one thing.
Okay.
From over the last 30 years, I've been coaching high school football.
Fantastic.
For 30 years.
One of the things that I've discovered too, and that's a tremendous track record, Mr. West. Good Lord's been good to you. You have found a niche here, and I know the kids love you, they respect you, and it's just in our conversation about whether or not we should move forward with the forum. That's what we call the roundtable discussion.
Yes.
We said, what are we going to do because of the pandemic? You said we got to make sure that you said it. We got to make sure that the kids remain central. And I appreciate that so much. Your experience in Columbus is the connecting point, isn't it, to what's happening here today? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, in Columbus, I reconnected with an old college basketball teammate of mine, Marty Sutton.
Okay.
And he runs the Potential in-school mentoring program. And they also have a anti-bullying program connected to that. Well, he and I had reconnected when I was down in with Olentangy local schools. And we would probably see each other about 2 or 3 times a month because he was doing AAU basketball also.
Right.
So we were like scrimmaging, with teams and things like that. Then we reconnected, and we stayed connected once we reconnected, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
And so, as you and I were talking about different parameters of the, of the programs that we were trying to run here.
Right.
And then when the pandemic hit,
right,
we started doing our forums. And I mentioned to you, hey, I know this guy that runs his program, down in Columbus, and he's pretty good. He's well known down there. I said, let's try to get him up here, and see what we can do with that.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's awesome how things just kind of connect together.
Yes.
One good decision leads to another good decision. I know that the students are glad you're here. The administration is glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I can't do what I try to do without your help and without your guidance and presence. Today is a very exciting day, and we want to give a shout out to the EHS media team. They are amazing in what they've been doing to support what this vision is. And Mr. West, you have opportunities to go any place else in the United States. But one of the things that I sense about you is that, there's something special about this city, Elyria. And the narrative is quickly changing. We talk about pioneer pride all the time. I talk about Elyria pride all the time too.
Yes.
And as we get ready to go into this wonderful experience today, we hope that we know everybody's in place. There's just one more thing we wanted to touch on, and that is the fact that we are looking we're staring in the face of reopening now. And I think that it was just super timely that we have these individuals that are doing what they're doing today, anti-bullying, and also a mother's perspective.
Yes.
And if I recall, when you talked with Mr. Sutton, he said that he had been working closely with Dr. Deborah King.
Yes.
And then she has this organization called It Takes a Life to Save a Life. You know, the old African proverb is so true. And I think we ought to stop here because I think our viewers and listeners want to like, well, get on with it already.
Okay.
But I could talk with you all day. But the old African proverb, I think, is very appropriate. And that is, you can really get somewhere faster by yourself. I get that. But you can go somewhere farther with somebody else.
Yep.
And so we're grateful you're here. We're grateful that you're watching and that you're a part of this, and share this when you get a chance, because good information goes a long way, and we really definitely, if we've learned anything else during this pandemic, is we all need each other.
So my first question is, what did your mother mean to you?
Well, I know my mother, she was my foster mother. I had been in a foster care system all my life since the time I was 2 years old until, 18 when I aged out. And I was one of the lucky ones. The foster home that I was in showed me love and caring and just everything about life. So, you know, mom and dad, they were always there for me, and I just always loved them for it. It just shows that you don't have to be blood to help someone out.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What about the rest of you ladies?
I have another non-traditional story. I remember my mom always wanting to instill in us to work hard to achieve our goals, but she passed away when I was 13. And the only other strong female figure I had in my life came into my life when I got to college. And that happens to be our own Troy Hill's mother. And she meant a great deal to me. She took me under her wing and was the mom figure I so desperately needed.
That's a great story.
I'd have to say unconditional love. My mother always taught me, you know, from a young kid, to always be nice to everybody, be kind, and she's always there for me. Never missed an event in my life, and it's instilled a lot of that into me with my children.
Wonderful.
My mom was the rock of our family. There were 8 of us, and so she was beyond a mom, if you could. I think I put her on like the same realm as like an angel, godly, very, very impactful for our family. I didn't realize her impact until we lost her. And then we lost her at, like, she was young, not too young. I mean, she was 57, but she was young. Yeah. So, and I think of it like, now that she's not here anymore, her impact on my life is so much more, because there was things that she taught me along the way that didn't make sense until she was gone. And for her to have that impact on me and have me remember all the things she had taught me, and it guide where I'm at now, her impact for me was huge. It's even after her death that I'm still taking lessons from her.
That's phenomenal. You know, as you resonate on what your mothers meant to you, that brings about what kind of mothers you want to be. And are you carrying the lessons that you've learned through graciousness and selflessness and unconditional love, and you passing it on to generations? Because, like it's been said, you don't have to be biological to be a mother figure and an impact in someone's life. You know, the key to being a mother is to care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was growing up, they had mothers that was the mother of the neighborhood, the community, because they cared for everybody. And it didn't matter, and everybody called them mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel our greatest line of defense in dealing with the situations that we're faced with today is at the kitchen table. 'Cause that's when the guard is down. That's when we can be open and honest. And one of the life lessons my mother instilled in me was always tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I may not like what I hear, but I'm your best friend. And you'll never hear what you say to me, as we would put it today, on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter.
Sure.
Because some things aren't meant for social media.
Right.
And our children today put their whole life on social media. And that opens them up to so much bullying or, negative comments, lowering their self-esteem when their best friend sits with them every day.
Sure.
So I too miss my mom, who is passed away. But those lessons and that wisdom, when you're kids, you're like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And now you'll be like, oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. So as moms and educators, what is the greatest fear you see right now in the throes of this pandemic?
I think I have a son. He's 15 years old, and he actually goes to this school. And my biggest fear is that he, in the basketball term, there's a word that's called keep your head on a swivel. And my son is super social, and he interacts with people really well. But my fear for him, and I can't speak for everybody else, but as a mom, when I think of my son in the COVID era and also in the era where we're at socially as a country and as a world, I need my son to have his head on a swivel. Like, I need him to get a better understanding of his surroundings and what is happening in his surroundings, and have like the discernment to start to develop some discernment on, is this a safe environment for me, or is this an environment where I need to make sure I don't put myself into? And so that's my fear, is have I given him the tools to, yes, be a great kid, be respectful, be kind, be loving, but put your head on a swivel and know that you need to have your bearings about where you are and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And that's from a boy mom, if you will.
I got it. How about you, ladies?
My daughter is in kindergarten, and this, I would say my worst fear is missing out on something. COVID has definitely rocked our worlds a little bit and has caused more stress on everybody, not just educators. But I think that there was evenings where I was like, so exhausted, and I felt like I had no more energy. But I knew that I had to be there, and how was her day, and just the fear of missing out, I guess, on things that you shouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to do with my grandson. Actually all of them, but isolation. The isolation was hard because for 28 days he was quarantined.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I would ask, you get your work done, you check in, yeah. Come find out that wasn't true. And then when I asked him about it, he had tears in his eyes, and he says, I just wasn't motivated. I just missed my friends. All I do was sit in my room. I didn't know how to get started. And I didn't want to disappoint you. So, now we're playing catch up. But I just didn't realize how that isolation had affected him. And he is also very, very social. Always asking questions in class, and everything. So it just took a step back. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably, I agree with all three of you, but something else it's more off of your answer, is the tremendous amount of negativity. And maybe not so much negativity, but it feels negative because things aren't the same. They're so tremendously different, and it's been going on for so long. My kids are struggling with the isolation. They're social butterflies. They miss their friends. But there's been so much else that's been going on in this last year, just within our own country. And, you're trapped at home, so you're watching the news, and how to deal with that, how to make heads or tails of that. What do we believe as a family? How are we going to react to that? And how are you going to get through this and make changes and make things better? that's what we're struggling with.
You know, those are great expressions of feelings, because isolation to children feels like punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So you're isolated, you don't have your friends. Our culture is based on social interaction. That's how our children learn how to assimilate.
Mm-hmm.
And if mom and dad work, they're in their part of the house at their jobs in isolation, while you're in your room in your part of the house. Where do you meet in the middle? There needs to be breaks in this. I feel that exercise should be implemented in between them sitting for so long, to stimulate the dopamine, to get their muscles and nerves back working, because you can't sit that long. You lose interest and you might as well go to sleep. And if they start to do that and we kind of increase the blood flow, then that can become a challenge that we can do together. Mom and dad, when you take your break, I take my break, we exercise, we encourage and motivate each other. We create these house challenges.
Yeah.
Because it gives us something to share other than, how was your day? You know how my day is. I haven't left my room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they get tired of hearing that, as well as you all get tired of saying that.
Sure.
So we have to think of new creative ways to engage with our children. You know, throw a virtual party with them, but their parent could be involved too. And it's something that you're doing where everybody might have the same game.
Yeah.
Or you create a game. And it's our house with your house, but everybody's doing it together collectively, because due to our separated nation, you know, you don't know what to believe. You know that I have white friends and I have black friends, but the media plays such a negative role. It's like poison. So I call television the plug-in drug. Because if you want to keep any harmony, we have to keep their opinions of what the world is doing outside. Because just because they're doing that doesn't mean that reflects how we are. We can't allow the outside influences to change the people that we are inside. You know, so we have to reinforce that, you know, and let's talk about those issues and what scares you. For you, the little one, we could turn her off before she even gets started. You know, because we're teaching her that the world is cruel.
Mm-hmm.
The world is unfair. If you put children together in a sandbox, everybody plays with each other and hugs and loves each other until you're told not to. So racism and all those kind of topics, they're taught, not born. And we have people who just be protagonists to instigate things just to see how far they can go.
Yeah.
They don't have no care whether you like them or hate them. Let's just instigate a situation and not think about the harm that you're causing and how the trickle-down effect can make family members turn against family members. Now we're isolated in this house together and everybody is on a different page and it becomes chaotic. We have to be able to unify the peace within your own house to make that a sanctuary that as long as we in here, we got hope of a new future. You know, yeah, this is the new normal right now. But what do we want to come out of it represent?
And I will say there are a couple positives that have happened. Are for one, my child wouldn't have done well without having his sports, and without his sports during this time of isolation, I'm not so sure what his end or where he'd be right now. And then the isolation created conversation now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's more time for us to be alone with each other, either in the car or in the kitchen or, you know, just doing certain things. So conversation has happened so much more than it happened prior to, COVID happening.
That's a wonderful sentiment because conversation is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in a technology-based world. And when COVID, we're forced to put the phone down, the computer, tablets down, and have a conversation. Find out what's important to them. How do you feel about this? You know, because sports are a big part. And I fear that children were like, But what do I have to look forward to now?
Mm-hmm.
Why does education even matter? And you could be a great student and your grades plummet because that sports team required you to get to a certain level
Sure.
to be a part of the team. So what do? So we have to outside the box again.
Mm-hmm.
Have a coach's corner or something. I check on my team. Hey, how y'all doing? Don't think because we're not in school that you don't have to keep up the same standards. We have to go back to a community because we are so torn that we got to rebuild this country one house at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time, one school at a time. And kindness trickles down too, and as we all know, dark and light can't exist in the same place because once you hit that switch, darkness is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to go forward in the new normal, what would you like to see as a mom? What would you like to see so that we can encourage these kids who are faced with virtual graduations, no proms? How do we bridge the gap, or you as moms make them feel just as special as they were if they could walk across the stage or something in front of the whole family? Because we're their biggest cheerleaders. So how do we navigate that where we're uplifting one, and if you have multiple siblings in the house, and not isolate them or make them feel less than?
Mm-hmm.
So as mom, we need to come together as a community that if it's nothing else, the moms are doing something.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave out dads. Dads are a special role, but that bond with the mom, it's no matter what. It's no matter what. And we have to encourage moms that may not have made it through school, that now is the time we can all engage together, and you can go to school right with your child, and we can help each other and encourage each other. And what joy would it be that you motivated me to finish, and we can walk side by side one of these days. That's something that we can't leave nobody out.
Sure.
We can't leave anybody out. So what is your picture of the future? Ideally.
No.
I think it depends on where you're at with the age of child or children that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're all nurturers, and by nature we're nurturing parents, but what does that look like from at different stages? Like, what does that look like from a kindergarten, the mom of a kindergarten, or the mom of a girl, or the mom of a boy high schooler? And I think that, like, early on, we protect our kids, right? And then, we work on teaching them all the things that they need to know. And then, like, I'm at the phase, or then there's a discipline phase. So you teach them, and when they don't do it, then they get a consequence. And now I'm at the phase where my son, I'm trying to give him guidance. Mm-hmm. And then, like, what after guidance, what's my next step? And I think of, like, my nieces and nephews who are in their 20s and they're considered grown, that, like, I'm just giving them advice at this point. So, like, I feel like I'm trying to give my son guidance. Like, he knows there's consequences. He knows what he's been taught. Now I'm trying to guide him and give him a different perspective about things and let him come up with his own thinking when it comes to different topics. I'm just giving him perspective. But that's where I'm at with my 15-year-old son. It might be different for, you with your daughters, and you with your grandsons and grandchildren. And what I'm saying, it might be different with your children. So, but for me, it's perspective. I'm at the point where I need to give him perspective.
And that's a valid point, and all of it is important, but the greatest you can give them is that you've already put that seed in there. They know. Now you're just guiding him along the way until he leaves that nest to stand on his own. Because our greatest gift is to teach them how to fly. Every tub must sit on its own bottom. But really understand that there are consequences associated with your actions. And some mistakes follow you the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. So, when you're put in that situation, just pause, pray, and then proceed, because it gives you a chance to say to yourself in your head, what you're thinking before it come out your mouth.
Sure.
So as kids, we're in such an emotionally based society that we got to remove the emotion out of it, because that's what makes us not think clearly. Because we'll be, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have said that. But if we pause for a minute and just breathe, maybe we'll change the way we say it. We could be saying the same thing. So that guidance to just know that there are consequences from every age level. We know the rules. We instill the rules. You know the rules of mommy's house. If you don't do that, you're going to get a consequence. Be it, no television, no phone, no, whatever. So once we come back to the new normal, then you can't go see your friends.
Sure.
But now, how can you make punishment the same thing as your normal environment? So we got to do some kind of creative chore. Or maybe let's write a report on why you think you got this consequence. I want to see where your mindset is. So we have to keep them stimulated and allow them to say how they really feel without worrying about the consequence. If I really tell you, you're going to feel a certain way about me or I'm going to get in trouble. We have to have a little judge-free zone, because we're burnt out as parents and educators, and we want to break too. So, we'll just do a check-in of another kind at the end of the day when all responsibility, I would say, is over. And just, how is this making you feel? What upsets you the most? We have to give them a voice, and we have to validate their feelings, just like we want them to validate our feelings. Because you as moms, you got to have some mommy time. Even if you just go take you a bubble bath or read a magazine for 30 minutes, nobody can say mom. Nobody can ask you for anything so that you can breathe and regroup. And they need to have that time too. That's their time. Get your head right. If there's something bothering you, so it won't come out emotionally, you got a little time to think about it, and we can address it. So that if we're in a chaotic situation, say, mom or son or daughter, now is not a good time. But I'm not validating your feelings, but we're going to revisit this when I think we can do this a little more calmly. That respects them, that respects you, and we don't have to say I'm sorry, because words are some of the one things we can't take back. So as a mom, we have so much to face. As an educator, you're moms for your family and for the children that you see and teach every day. And they get that strength and energy off of you. Some households may not be as good as others, but you encourage them that you are never alone and you're always got an outlet, and make them feel free to contact you, and we can talk about it, even if it's on the phone, or you can write a letter and it go to the school and address it to whom you need to speak to as a way of getting your feelings out, because you all are the cornerstones to their upbringing, and the seeds you plant are the ones that will guide them the rest of their life, because honestly, you spend more time with them than their families do. And I applaud you teachers and educators, because you do some of the work that should have been done at home. And now you notice it more. We notice what's lacking. Kids miss coming to school. They miss their teachers, because with you, they feel like they matter. A lot of children are overlooked, and we don't want that either. So, my slogan is life is the new cool. And as long as we have life, we have hope. We got another opportunity to get it right. And if we're having a bad day, hit the reset button. Tell yourself good morning again and start it all over, because we don't have to walk down that path of a bad day. So we teach them that too. If you wake up and you're on the wrong side of the bed, just restart. And give yourself the positivity of that affirmation. Good morning, I'm so thankful I'm alive today, because somebody else didn't make it. And COVID has taught us nothing more than how precious life really is. So I want children to be able to stand up and use their voice and say no. You have that power to say no. If it's something you really got to think about, that's probably not the right thing to do. And don't be afraid to ask your teacher, ask your parents. Don't ask your friends. They want the same question answered. So no question is a dumb question because somebody out there is thinking the same thing.
Right.
And it's just an amazing thing that we have the ability to speak into and pour into children's lives and watch how it develops. We either water it so it'll grow, or we stifle it so we kill it. But we want to give them the opportunity to dream and to keep following those dreams because, reach for the clouds, settle for the stars, and may your feet never touch the ground. So we want to be an inspiration, but we need uplifting too. And as moms and educators, where do we turn? Where do we turn when we're bogged down or we're tired or we're overwhelmed or we're frustrated? That's where groups like this come together, where we can be in a no judgment zone just to say, man, I'm through. I'm tired. And let each one of us uplift and motivate the other. Because sooner or later, we're going to be faced with that same situation. It might not be now. You know what to look forward to. You got a long way to go. You got a long way to go. She's looking towards graduation. You're looking towards first grade. It's the beginning to the end. So hopefully by the time your child gets as old as theirs, all this is water under the bridge and it'll be in a history book somewhere. But what can we do today to prepare the pathway for somebody tomorrow? And when we look at life like that, it brings us into a perspective that what we say matters, and it has a lingering effect. And if you plant a positive seed, that child gonna come back one day and say, it was Miss So-and-so. And she always believed in me and said I could do anything I set my mind to. And she was there for me, and she clapped as loud as mom for me when I succeeded. Or that was that voice I heard when I was playing basketball. And that makes them feel good. And it's the little things that you never forget. The little things, because the act of saying hello can change somebody's life. How are you doing today? The fact that you care could be the difference between living and suicide. Somebody asked about me. Is it anything you guys have questions on that you want to ask?
It's such a difficult time just trying to keep them positive because they're exposed to so much in the media. Sometimes you might break down. But just keeping them positive that there is hope. There's got to be hope. We got to have faith, because without our faith, in my family, I'm not giving up, So what can we do to maintain until it gets better? Because it's going to get better. That's all I've said all summer. It's going to get better. I don't know when, but it's going to get better. It really is. So that's why we took those walks in the summer. With my littlest grandkids, it was fun. They asked questions, and they were 2 and 4 years old, and that was our time together. So I just want them to be positive. Little ones, they don't really see so much, but the older ones, they had a lot to think about.
Give me some input, ladies.
Yeah, it is hard to keep the positivity up, but that's something that not only do you have to do that at home, and not this new thing that they call toxic positivity. Like you said, you want to tell them it's going to get better, not like, ooh, it's going to get better tomorrow. No. Reality, you got to put some reality in there, but you still have to keep it positive. But yeah, it will be. We got to get through this, but that also has to carry over to school too. And, we've been trying to keep that and, let everybody, everybody's got to vent a little bit. We all have to. If you can't not vent. But then you also have to say, okay, stop. Is there anything positive? What can you tell me that's good? There's got to be something good in with all that too. And then they can turn around on the other foot. And that's that restart button.
Mm-hmm.
And they can get back on the right track.
We give them things to look forward to. Like we were talking about, over spring break going to the zoo. Like you're giving them things to look forward to. I do that for myself all the time. When I'm kind of in a slump, I'm like, but soon enough, there's going to be this to do. So yeah, just giving them hopes and reminding them that things are at some point going to be normal, whether that's new normal, whatever, but that there's going to be those times again.
And patience, I guess. It'll be okay. Just be patient. We're getting there.
That's a good lesson.
Baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think accountability. I think COVID has, this time of isolation has created like lapses in things that need to be done in a timely manner and things that need to be done in a way that everyone can benefit from the things that need to be done. I've always told my son, you don't get to do what you want to do until you do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And until you do what you need to do, you don't get to do what you want to do.
Right? Absolutely.
And so, but that kind of has gotten lost in translation because there's not the structure of the day that looks like it typically did. So doing what you want to do can go longer than what it typically could, and then doing what you need to do kind of
You squeeze it in.
gets tighter and tighter. So just having that level of accountability, there's still things that you have to do, and just because you're not happy, or just because you're bored, or just because certain things are happening, does not mean that you don't have to do this, and this. So having accountability, I think, is a big deal for me too.
Those are great insights. And, we have to encourage them that although the world has a new normal, house don't have no new normal. You were responsible to take out the garbage before COVID. You were responsible to take out the garbage during COVID.
Yeah.
It is, we can't wait on the next day. We got to do our things today.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe let's set short goals. Maybe find something they want to do and we check it over through the week. Did we reach that goal of something new that they could accomplish while being in isolation?
Yeah.
So it's up to us to just keep going and keep hope alive, because we got to have faith that hopefully we've seen the worst. So there's only up or sideways. So we're not going to keep bumping our head. We got to come up. So it will get better. And every day we're alive, it's better.
Mm-hmm.
It's better. So that, it's a terrible situation, but we got to make the best of it because that's all we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Any other questions you ladies have or things you want to vocalize?
I think this has been good. Just to see where other people are at in terms of, where they're at with their either age or, different dynamics within the family. It's been good to hear other people's perspective.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. And you older moms can give her activities that maybe you did with your kids that she hadn't even thought about. That'll help break the cycle of boredom in her house.
Right.
And vice versa, or something that you might have seen out that can change a dynamic with an older child or a grandchild. See, I'm blessed to be a mother and a grandmother too. And I'm a mother of sons, but at least mine are grown, but both my grandchildren are girls. So it's a whole different dynamic. I'm like, I don't know nothing about that. And it's funny how boys get girls, and then I said, think about all that stuff you did. And they're like, not my daughter. So you have all the dynamics to think about. But as long as we stay together, mother to mother, we can accomplish anything.
Right.
You know, so I thank you, I applaud you, and I wish every household the best of luck, and know that you're never in this alone, and we're all just a phone call away.
Right.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our little chat this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were encouraged, motivated, and inspired. Remember, life is the new cool.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
King, for being with us today. You are a remarkable woman. You have found out a way to not only inspire individuals in your area of it's Windsor, Ohio. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the name of your organization is?
It takes a life to save a life.
Okay, awesome. So not only there, but somehow or another, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. You find yourself here at Elyria High School. And can you tell us, how is it that you end up in Elyria, not so much Elyria, but Windsor, Ohio, and by way of Florida, was it?
Yes, well, you know, I was born in Cleveland.
Okay.
At an early age, my mother moved my brother and myself to Windsor, Ohio, because we lived next door to Empire Junior High School, and they were bombing it, or trying to bomb it.
Wow.
So we were having to come outside, and fire department hosing down your house, and she's like, this is not going to work. So we moved to Windsor, Ohio, which was a cultural shock to me, to be in the country, and we don't know anybody, and then our neighbors are Amish, and what a blessing it turned out to be.
How about that?
So after I went through all my studies and being here and there and everywhere, it was like God told me, in order to go forward, you got to go back to the beginning.
Okay.
And that brought me home to Windsor, Ohio.
And here you are giving again. Would you say that, by way of introduction, by the way, you know, we've already done the piece for today, and you're going to be excited about this. You're really going to like this. But let me ask you this: do you think that that's one of the keys to not just survival? Let's go from survival to success. But one of the keys to that is that giving.
It is. The more you give, the greater your reward is.
Okay.
Because to know that you had a part in somebody's life, or something you said or did or shown them was impactful, is a life well lived. You know, and I want to be remembered for some of the things I've done after I'm gone.
Okay.
That to me creates legacy and turns legacy into dynasty.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so you know, when you can touch a lot of lives and they have good things to say about you, that's a life well lived.
Awesome. And you know, you're part of this series we have at Elyria High School called The Forum. And that's what we wanted to do. At the beginning of the whole nugget, the idea, Mr. James West and the staff here, we thought, you know what, at the end of the day, this isn't about our generation, this is about legacy. And then you added that little part on there about the dynasty.
Absolutely.
I kind of like that. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. Our hopes and prayers, thoughts are with you all. And I don't think this is the last time we're going to get together.
I would hope not. And I feel so honored and privileged that you would let me be a part of this inaugural show. I hope that it inspired, motivated, and encouraged someone to understand how important it is to have a conversation. You know, and to express your voice and be heard and not judged.
Exactly.
Don't be afraid to ask a question.
Awesome.
You know, and knowledge is the greatest gift you can be given, because nobody can take it away.
That's right. That's what you were telling us when we were starting this whole thing.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to ask those questions, and then be patient enough and open enough to listen for the answers.
That's the key right there.
Okay.
You know, in the recovery world in which I'm birthed, it is take the cotton out your mouth and put it in your ears. You know, because be quick to listen, slow to speak. Knowledge is in the hearing.
Okay.
And we have a lot of wisdom out there. We need to tap into our elderly.
Awesome.
You know, and they once went to school, so what great mentors they could be. And I'm loving Elyria High School and your school here. It's a beautiful thing, and I thank Marty Sutton for introducing me to you all to bring me to Elyria.
Thank you so much. I just want to let you know that also with this piece, today we got a 2-for-1. You know, we got 2 for 1, so to speak. Mr. Marty Sutton came up with you, Dr. King.
Yes.
And they have done a piece, you don't want to miss that either, on anti-bullying and mentoring. So again, thank you. It's all about life. Life is good, and we're grateful that we've been able to experience you and Mr. Sutton's presence today. We're better for it, and we believe our community is going to be stronger for it as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and remember, life is the new cool.
Got you.
All right. Thank you.